Well, welcome everybody to our Carnegie cast. I'm your host, Jay Peltier, coming from San Francisco today. We have our guest, Matt Skoy, who's a good college buddy of mine, great friend, been through a lot of adventures together. Once again, we're here talking all things leadership, many things Dale Carnegie, and we have a great guest in Matt Skoy. So, Matt, you just want to give us a little bit of your background on, where you've been and kind of how you got to where you are here now with Aldebaran.
Hey, Jay, thanks for the warm introduction. And it looks like you're kind of in a warm climate compared to mine.
Yeah, where are you at?
I'm not sure. It kind of looks like some big slopes back there, some heavy snowflake pine trees. Who knows? But it's a little chilly.
Looks like Fargo yesterday,
It probably it could have been. So, hi everyone. My name is Matt Skoy. Like Jay said, I've known Jay my whole collegiate career. We started to kind of get to know each other at NDSU, and then he was in my wedding. I was in his wedding. My goodness, the relationship is strong, and from the very beginning that we knew each other, we have recited leadership quotes, read books. We would make burned tapes and CDs, and we called them inspirados, right? So they'd be like the Eye of the Tiger and these fight songs, and it was pretty cool stuff. So just a little bit about me. I grew up in Minneapolis, on the south side of Minneapolis, and with my mom and stepdad, and then my dad and stepmom had a farm down by La Crosse, Wisconsin. So I would spend the summertime, baling square bales on the farm, and then I'd come back to Minneapolis and tell all the city kids about what I did for the summer, and they were always in complete awe. Fun stuff, but I enjoyed it. I had the best of both worlds. I ended up getting a football scholarship to come to NDSU. Played some football, had a career-ending injury, 4 knee surgeries later. It was over. But I was very fortunate. Had a great education at North Dakota State University. Met some wonderful people like Jay Peltier, and then obviously I met my awesome wife at NDSU as well. Took off to Ames, Iowa after I graduated. Got my master's degree in education administration from Iowa State University, and got married at that time. And then Liz and I moved back to NDSU, or back to Fargo, and she got a job as a professor at NDSU. And then I got a job working as the assistant director for service learning and civic engagement. Did a lot of cool things and volunteer related and civic engagement, and really try to focus on community needs. And I worked my way into some leadership development and programming, and then kind of into some management roles and supervising roles. And I ended up finishing my career at NDSU as the director for student activities. Ended up spending over 10 years there. And now I'm the learning and development manager at a place called Aldebaran, which is an awesome, fast-growing company, biotechnology company. With that being said, I don't want to leave out that I've been married for 11 years, and we have 3 awesome kids. Yeah, they're cool. I mean, they're a handful. I don't. if you're out there listening right now, and you're working virtually from home, and you're also providing educational opportunities for your kids, and there's just a lot of components there. So God bless you. And obviously we're very fortunate to be working from home. There's a lot of folks out there that aren't able to work at all, and so we're praying for those people too. And we're at as I'm going into the COVID-19, praying for everyone out there that's struggling, because this is a challenge for all of us. And it's actually, I think, it's helping us to reflect a little bit about the things that we do have and the things that we need.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Jay, that's a little bit about me. We Nyla, Bell, and Jerica. Those are the 3
There
kids.
You go.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So Matt, you've spent your whole life kind of studying, learning, leadership. What about leadership do you love? What about it keeps you going, and why get into a field that is evolved around it?
Well, truly, to me, is the beauty of leadership is that it doesn't matter what position you have. It doesn't matter your title. It doesn't matter what your business card says. Leadership, from my experience, has always been how people show up in times of challenge, and stressful times, and times where their backs up against the rope, and they show up with this sense of urgency, but they show up with humility and grace, and I think Brene Brown says it best when she says that you can't have leadership without vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
And wow, isn't that the truth,
Yeah.
right? Vulnerability. I mean, allowing yourself to expose your weaknesses, and it's okay to say, hey, I'm not very good at this. And I think that's kind of that's the beauty of leadership, and that's what's always drawn me in.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been drawn in by somebody with a certain position, but the individual that draws me in is the person that's authentic. And when you see them and you watch them lead with, like I said, that grace and humility and vulnerability, it's pretty neat stuff. It really draws you in.
Yeah, so it's a great question. We're in this kind of different time, uncertain times. How do people be vulnerable? And how do you allow that to happen when we don't know what's going to happen, when we probably have a lot of stress on our plate and, a little bit of hope, maybe a lot of hope, but a lot of uncertainty, which is not a great formula for vulnerability.
Yeah, um, I don't know how spiritual I'll get right now, but I'm gonna go down that path for a minute. That the uncertainty of this physical world, we experience it. We all experience it. There's plenty of times that we've all experienced those butterflies in our gut, those moments that we can't sleep at night. Maybe we wake up at 3:00 in the morning wondering if, our business is going to be afloat tomorrow, or if that relationship that we're trying to build is still going to last. And there's uncertainty in this world around every corner. And I guess when it comes to vulnerability, when I think about, my life, I just know that, I'm following God. I'm a believer, and I know that there's a plan out there, and I want to lead one step in front of the other, and just really listen to the message of hope. And I could sit here and I could think about the glass being, half empty, and I could dwell on it, and I could complain and blame and all sorts of things. And we all know people that do that too, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And it's or I can feel a sense of hope, a sense of renewal, a sense of knowing that my uncertainty of this physical world is temporary. And while I'm here, I'm going to live to the fullest. I'm going to grind every day by serving the people around me, and hanging out with awesome people like yourself, Jay, and surrounding myself with just some real awesome leaders and some cool people.
Yeah, let's talk about who you surround yourself with, because that's always been a big. I think this is a very important aspect of life at any time. How do you figure out who you're going to make sure that you're spending time with?
Yeah. There's that quote. It goes something along the lines of that, that circle of influence, those circle of people that you hang out with. If you're not inspired by your circle, it's certainly not a circle, it's a cage, right? And, I think a lot about that. And, I think it's very important, just like in business, right? Every quarter you take a look at things and reflect on your reports. And I think you should do the same thing with your circles of people you roll with.
Sure.
The people that you run with, you hang out with, and, if they're not empowering and elevating you to be the best version of yourself, I guess my question is, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And here's the thing. If you haven't addressed it yet, if you haven't went to that person and say, hey, you know what, I'm worried about you, I've been thinking about you, and quite frankly, you're kind of drawing us down. If you haven't done that yet, it's time to step up and serve that person. And you may be thinking to yourself, well, I just don't know if I have it in me to be vulnerable like that, and to show this, this individual. But I got to tell you, some of the greatest lessons I ever learned were the people that stepped up in my life, looked me face to face, eye to eye, and say, hey, Matt, you're missing it here. You have to pull yourself together. You're slipping. You're not getting it. And it was hard to hear, and I didn't want to hear it. But I changed and I made those adjustments, and it was awesome. So I would evaluate your circle on a regular basis and make sure that circle is getting you to the place that you want to get to.
Yeah, I think one thing you've always been great at is throwing down a challenge. That's one of the principles we try to live by in Dale Carnegie.
Yeah,
is to do exactly that, as you're saying, is, hey, if people in your circle aren't quite where they need to be, throw down a challenge on them. And I'm sure a lot of listeners right now are, maybe their palms are sweaty and they're like, well, shoot, I have no idea how to do that. Where does the courage come from to be able to, muster up the confidence to have a hard conversation, a crucial conversation that probably needs to happen?
That's a good question, Jay. I was a long time ago, several years ago, I was asked to do a keynote address at Davies High School, and it was for their National Honor Society. And I was really excited. I was fired up. And I remember standing behind the curtain. There must have been a couple hundred people there with students and parents. And the vice president, I believe at the time, for the National Honor Society, she was behind the curtain with me, and she was shaking and kind of, tapping her foot. And I said, "What's going on?" And she said, "Well, did you see all the people out there?" I said, I did. I saw them all. I said, "There's got to be a couple hundred." And she said, I know. And I don't know if I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked her, I said, "What are you focused on?" And she said, "Well, what if I stumble and fall on the way out? What if I say the wrong thing?
Mm-hmm.
What if I jumble up my words? What if? And I said, what if you change that focus just a little bit? Instead of focusing on yourself in this moment, what if you focused on all those people out there? And I think that's where bravery comes from, right?
Yeah.
If you're gonna focus inside and try to evaluate all your faults and all your potential stumbles, then obviously you're not gonna walk out on that stage in front of 200 people. But if you're gonna focus on making the lives of all those people better by the message that you want to share, then go get it. And I shared that with her, and she kind of turned around, and I said, "Are you ready?" And she said, "I am." And she went out there and she was dynamite. She rocked. And then she came back in, we high-fived, and I said, "How'd that feel?" And she said, "It felt great because I wasn't focused on me."
Mm-hmm.
And so I think bravery, you focus on other people and providing value to them, you can move mountains.
Yeah, and there's a whole other piece of this, right? Is, you do such a wonderful job of helping everyone else out. I mean, you've helped me out my entire life that I've known you, which has been, 15 years at this point.
A long time, yeah.
Part of throwing down a challenge is kind of throwing down a challenge to yourself, and you just did that. You had this awesome career at NDSU, highly, highly respected, still are, from a lot of your, NDSU former colleagues. How did you have the courage, the confidence to leave an organization and try something that, completely different, take a leap of faith, an intensely growing organization, and truly just challenge yourself in some, quite frankly, uncertain times?
Oh, good question, my friend. Well, I think the easy answer is look at the guy next to me on the screen. Jay Pelletier, you went from, just an all-state coach out in Colorado, and obviously statewide recognized, right? And then coming to Fargo, North Dakota, and buying a franchise in Dale Carnegie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did I say that right? Yep. Franchise, is that right? Dale Carnegie State. Okay, yeah, and you did that. You did that. So I would love to ask you the same question. Because it can be a challenge, right? Especially when you love what you're doing, and there's a sense of growth in it. When I was working at NDSU, it was the same thing, working with students and connecting and growing and developing. But there came a point where I was ready for something new, to try something different. And I can't sit here and pretend to know, when the timing is right and all these other things, but I did a lot of praying about it, and it felt right. And I've been at El Devron now for 2.5 months, and it's an awesome place to work. I have an unbelievable team that I have a chance to connect with on a daily basis, and they're really inspiring individuals. So, as far as making the decision, I know I made the right decision.
Yeah.
I certainly, don't get me wrong, I miss NDSU. I love that place. I always will. It's an awesome place. But I was just ready for something new for a little bit, switch it up a little bit. And I think that sometimes, you have to do that. You have to switch things up, and you have to try new things, and because it challenges you to grow, and to kind of see what you have, right? Because if you're at a place for quite some time, you naturally become somewhat complacent, right?
Yep.
And if you become complacent, then you're obviously not providing the most value you can. So you got to switch it up. What about you? I mean, you made the big jump. What was, I mean, what was that like for you?
Oh, I would say very similar. It was, where I was, I felt I hit a glass ceiling in education. And, don't get me wrong, I think coaching high school track and field and educating young men and women is the greatest job in the world. I just felt like I needed a little bit different challenge, and I didn't want to be complacent. I remember the conversation I had with the athletic director and the principal the day I resigned, and it was, I think I'm at 98%, and if I'm going to carry on, I need to be at 100, and I just don't, I don't feel myself being at 100%, all in right now. And so it was an easy choice. A lot of people thought, it was a tough choice for me, but it was actually a pretty easy choice, and no disrespect to anyone in the industry. It's just, that's kind of how I live and who I am. Very, very similar to you, which kind of leads me to my next question is, you've lived an awesome life, right? And you're very adventurous. You get involved in a lot of different things, a ton of nonprofits, the Jeremiah program to be one. You did a lot for NDSU when we were at NDSU. We visited when you were at Iowa State and doing your studies there. If you look at your whole life's work, from the time you're in high school, to right now, what would you say was your biggest obstacle to overcome, or your biggest challenge?
Wow, that's a
we're going deep.
That's a big question, Jay. Whew. I would say that one of the most challenging things was, coming to North Dakota State on a football scholarship, and very, very fortunate to be able to receive that and go to school, but then going through that experience of injury was just so challenging, and it's something that will stick with me forever. It was, after the first, second, and then third, and then finally the fourth knee surgery, I just remember moments where the entire team would go out and, train, and they would go lift weights, and they would go to practice, and I would be in the rehab room, and, obviously great trainers in there and doctors, and then slowly my connection with teammates began to kind of filter away, and that was hard. That was hard. And then there was, as it continued, and then I found myself, climbing up the big towers and videotaping practice and being further and further removed from the field. And I kind of felt that those relationships that I had built with these classmates of mine were slowly kind of drifting. And that was really hard. There was a lot of times that I kind of contemplated, dropping out of school, and that it wasn't for me anymore, because I was one of these guys. I really thought that I would have a chance at, the NFL. I guess a lot of people, when they go play college football, they, everybody probably, I do a lot of, I do some talks with some of the college football players in town. I'll say, how many people think they're going to go to the NFL? And, 98% of the hands will go up, right? Well, there's that dream, right? So I've been playing football since I was in third grade. I remember times where, my grandpa would come watch you to give me these garlic. He's from Wisconsin. He gave me these garlic flavored cheese curds, and he would say, all right, now you're a D lineman, go get them. They'll smell your breath. My whole life was, football. And so it was a part of my identity. It was who and you know this as a coach, that it was part of my identity. It was who I was. And when I lost that, I was lost, and it took some things to kind of overcome, but that was probably one of the biggest challenges that I had personally faced, as far as that was tough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you've had a lot of challenges in life. That's obviously a major one that I think a lot of people can relate to. I think one of the things I've always appreciated about you is, you have this awesome ability to kind of always count your blessings,
Hmm.
and use that as a way to kind of overcome stress and just see the brighter side of every day. What would you say to listeners who are trying to figure out, hey, how do I do a better job of counting my blessings, or how do I see those little things that are really positive right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, a couple things is, I've been in this a really cool Bible study group, and we've been digging into Scripture, and so every day I'm reading, and I've been a believer my whole life, right?
Mhm.
But at least I said I was a believer,
Yeah.
but I had never really dug into Scripture and
Mhm.
never understood the Word, and uh, you know, I finally, for the first time, I've been reading every day on this app, on the reading plan app, and I think at like 39% done. And I know you're doing the same thing, Jade, isn't it?
Yep.
Isn't it awesome to get into the Word? And
Yeah.
so that always lifts my spirits,
Mhm.
first and foremost, waking up, but then waking up and reading the Word it's just gets me off to the right. So I would say that for me, it's when you get up in the morning, how are you going to set the stage for your day?
Sure.
How are you going to now? For some of you, you're probably like me. You got 3, 7, 9 kids running around at home. You don't know whether you're foot or horseback. But the beauty of it is that if you can set the stage and maybe get up a little earlier and get that little lamp on and read some scripture, maybe get you can set it nicely and you can start your day on off right. The other thing I would say too is, you know, just physically taking care of yourself is a big thing
Mhm.
too. So not only spiritually, but you need to feed your physical well-being as well. And Jay, this. There was a time that I was 353 pounds, you
Yep.
know, and I just weighed in the other day at like 265.
That a
So
baby.
yeah, so like
The big fella is
the
becoming the
big
medium
fella,
fella.
I'm just trying
You
to
know.
get on. So the 90 pounds, and obviously I got some more to lose, and I'm working on that. But I'm working out every day, probably 6 days a week, maybe 7 days a week, and I got a little elliptical in the basement, a little space heater I crank up and start sweating, but gosh, it feels good. So after I
Yeah.
get done working out and cranking out, and I've already read some from scripture, so now my everything's flowing, right? My blood's flowing. I'm ready to go. And then I used to go upstairs and go, pound bacon and eggs and all kinds of, and that's good too. But now it's nice to grab a yogurt and maybe a banana, and just taking care of yourself physically is
Hmm.
another thing too. So I think obviously digging into your scripture, getting that ready to go, and your spiritual life, it's keeping yourself physically just present there and ready to rock. As far as exercise and fitness, and making sure that you're surrounding yourself with those right people. Right, Jay? I
Hmm.
probably call you once a day, maybe twice, 3, 4 times a day,
Well, at
and
least we leave good messages too. You know.
and some it's really, there are people I talk to on a regular basis, and those people always, I make sure to call them, connect with them, because I know that the power of that positive thought is going to be contagious, and I know that it's just going to continue to fill my bucket, and I'm hopefully doing the same for them as well. So I would say, obviously, the spiritual, make sure that physically you're staying fit, you're eating the right things, and then you're surrounding yourself with people that are going to empower and elevate you to be the best version of yourself. And then I would make sure that you have a lot of people talk about balance, right? And then I remember there was somebody once upon a time told me that you'll never you'll never have balance. And
Hmm.
unfortunately, that person that told me that probably has never experienced balance.
Yeah.
But the people that understand that balance is truly all about making decisions,
Hmm.
because we can make decisions, and you know what, we don't, there are things that we can do and decide to do and not do, and it could create some balance. So I would challenge everyone out there to kind of reflect a little bit on their life, and if work is taking too much in, then maybe there's a way, maybe you have to trim it back, or if
Yeah.
there's things in your life that you can just take a 30,000-foot view approach to and just really reflect upon. Now is the time to do that, because
Mhm.
once those things go into place, you're gonna start feeling better. And because you all know, who's ever listening to this right now, if your life is out of whack, if the thing is kind of wobbling a little bit, and
Mhm.
to make that adjustment now, get it back on the right path, And then when it starts wobbling again, get it back on the right path. We all fall short that way, but we have to be able to reassess, regroup, and just continue to move forward.
So
So
there
those
it
are
is.
just
Another challenge you threw down. Look at this guy.
I,
All day. All day. And you use a phrase quite often. It is where your focus goes, your
energy flows. Yes.
energy.
Yeah.
How has that become such a huge motto of yours?
Well, Jay, truthfully, it's we all see the world through our own lens, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we all interpret that experience through our own mind. And then that becomes our reality.
Yep.
So my question for everyone is, what do you want your reality to be? And the way that you can adjust that is by altering your focus. If you're focused on negativity, then that's exactly what you're going to wallow in. But if you're focused on positivity, let's roll. So where focus goes, energy flows. It's just been something that has I've kind of carried with me for over a decade now, and it's been it really helps. It really helps when I have those moments that we all have where we stumble, where we wake up in the morning and it just doesn't feel right. I can sit there and focus on how it doesn't feel right, or I can focus on what's going to be and go get it. So
yeah, I've always appreciated that. It's kind of ingrained in my system now too. And wake up in the morning and where's my focus?
Oh yeah,
where the focus is, that's where the energy is.
There you go.
It's been a great reminder. So thank you for instilling that into my system. And to a point of, I don't know if you remember this, but when in Blue Key, we were in a honor society together.
Oh yeah.
On your send off, you gave me two quotes and then a wall hanging, which I all have hanging in my office. And one was about attitude, and the other two were about leadership, which I think attitude kind of encompasses those. And it just kind of goes back to that of where your focus goes, your energy flows.
Oh yeah. I think was that the attitude quote that Charles Swindoll quote that life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you choose to react to it. Was that the one?
Exactly. It's the last few words of this are, I'm convinced that life is 10% of what happens to me and 90% how you react to it. And so it is with you.
Oh gosh, I remember that quote well, my friend. When I was running for student body vice president in high school, I shared that quote to the auditorium filled with students. That's a good one.
That a baby.
It's a truth though, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
It's 90% what happens to you, or 10% what happens to you, and 90% your response is everything.
Totally is. And that's, it's a great reminder for all of our listeners out there is, have a great attitude through this, and I think let's keep that mindset of where your focus goes, your energy flows. It's such a wonderful reminder. And we're going to shift things up just a little bit here. So I'm just going to rapid fire some questions.
Oh, good.
You ready for this?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay. First question, proudest moment of your life so far?
Ooh, wow. I would say becoming a father.
Ooh, there you go. Okay. Nice.
Yeah. Do you want me to expand?
No, that's cool.
Okay. Yeah.
And let it sink in and let the three kids' faces kind of hit my brain.
Oh, yeah. Every single one of them, becoming a father and seeing their glow and the way that they've come into the world has been just, it's incredible.
Yeah. Why do you love life coaching so much?
It's about people. It's about if you can help the person next to you to become better, to help them understand themselves more, to assist on their journey. Why wouldn't you do that? Yeah. And so I love that. I love when the light bulbs come on for people. I love when they challenge, and you can challenge back. And I really appreciate when someone's really embraces feedback. And yeah. I always say that feedback's love, right? If someone's willing to give you feedback, they care about you. Yeah. So that life coaching is, people have done that for me along the way. People like you, Jay, who challenge me on a regular basis. I appreciate that. I'm hungry for it. I wanted to get better. And, so I just, there's a lot of value in it.
Yeah. One thing that most people might not know about you, what would that be?
I used to have a cow growing up, and yeah, it was a good cow. It was a cool cow, and yeah. So my dad, he had that farm, or he still does have that farm in Wisconsin. All of us kids, we all got a cow when we turned a certain age. I can't remember what age that was, and it was up to us if we were going to grow our herd or sell cattle off and earn a few $100. And it was quite the investment, quite the educational opportunity at a young age.
There you go. And last question: best outdoor adventure.
Ooh, the outdoor adventure. I've had a lot of awesome. I love the outdoors, Jay. You know that I love to hunt
Yeah.
and I love to fish, and I really find that there's just so many cool things out there. And I'll say this, that there was a time when my grandpa Skoy was still alive, and I got much love for all my grandparents, the ones that are still here and the ones that have passed. And when Grandpa Skoy was still alive, he had this old stick shift pickup, and when I was just a little critter, and we were out there on this Christmas tree farm that he used to help out at, and we were on these old logging roads, and he said, "Hey, do you want to learn how to drive?" I said, "Well, of course I want to learn how to drive." He says, "Well, saddle up." So I jumped on over and started driving, and I don't know how old I was. I must have been 10 or 12, who knows. Anyway, hit a tree, and he wasn't very happy, but it was incredible. Him and I always shared. We did hit a
Love
tree.
it.
Yeah, it wasn't good, but him and I have always shared memories of just driving in the pickup truck, seeing bald eagles come overhead, seeing wildlife, deer and turkey, and just being there and sharing those moments with people. Because here's the thing, we've all been in those situations where we've been hunting or fishing by ourselves, and it's not near as fun as when you're with somebody that you care about, that you can share a memory with. So gosh, there's so many, Jay. I have so many memories of outdoor
Yeah.
experiences, but it's always the best when you have somebody to hold onto that memory with.
Yeah, appreciate you saying that, Matt. And thank you for your time today, Matt Skoy, ladies and gentlemen. Matt, if people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way? Is is there social media they can follow you on?
Yeah, they can. You can obviously. I'm on Facebook. You can obviously email me as well. It's matt.skoy@eldevron.com. But really, I'm open to, if anybody ever wants to connect and just chat and talk about their life and their path, and just and really build upon the blocks that they have in front of them. I'm all about it. So, and thank you, Jay. Thanks for this opportunity. It's nice to connect with you. I know you're far away by that big bridge there, the Golden Gate, but it certainly looks warm where you are.
Yeah, I mean we're basking in the sun down here in by the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah. Well, make sure you come to Fargo, because this is what we're seeing. We still have snow in our yard. Do you have snow in your yard?
Yeah, we do actually.
Yeah,
There's a little snow pile out there. I think there's a little snow pile at the lake yet. So we're yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to the days of San Francisco and that annual bike ride down there. That'll be a fun one. So
absolutely. Hey, well, thanks again, Jay. I really appreciate being on this podcast with you.
Oh, really appreciate you having here, Matt. And once again, a few things that Matt's focused on is throwing down a challenge. Does that with, hey, where your focus goes, your energy flows.
Yeah.
And what a wonderful man to be able to teach us really how to count our blessings, not our troubles. And what a great role model that we have in the community, a man that is a God-fearing man that also lives the Dale Carnegie principles, and does what he can to serve others. So, Matt, I'm sure we'll chat with you in the morning.
Yeah, Jay, can I say one more thing really quick?
Yeah.
Just last thing. I just want to throw a big shout out there for all those individuals out there that are you're working through this COVID-19 stuff. One last challenge, Jay, is that if you haven't had a chance to call and connect with a family member and see how they're doing, or a friend, do that. I had a chance to talk to my grandma yesterday. She called, and I'm going to start doing that on a regular basis now. I'm going to start connecting with family and calling folks that I haven't called for a while. This is hard on a lot of people. It's hard on me, and I would certainly I just want to throw that out there for everyone listening now, because when it comes to leadership, sometimes it's about just stepping up, and it's time to make those calls, send those text messages, and making sure that your brothers and sisters and everyone are doing good.
There it is. One last challenge from Matt Skoy. Call a family member, stay connected, enjoy your time, be mentally tough, and stay North Dakota smart.
Yes.